Well, we'll see if I remember how to do this or not. Cheers, guys. Quick live show tonight, I think. Try and get down to the lab to build some stuff and work on things as often as I can. And I try at least every couple of days to go, I don't know, build something new and fun. And I thought, well, tonight I'll continue on the assembly of this quadcopter and see where we get. We're at the stage where we're ready to put some motors and some speed controls on. Last week I live streamed the pre-treatment of the speed controls and stuff. Right now, what I'll do is I'm just checking to make sure that we're going to use the right fasteners for the motor. This is #1 cause of motor failure, is using too long of fasteners and you punch right through and go right into the windings. So these short ones, as I remembered before, are the correct ones in this case. So we'll go ahead and recover these out of all the motor packages right now, I think. Oh yeah, I need to know what motor goes where as well. Did I even note this at some point? I might have to run and grab something real quick. I guess we can put one of the nuts on each motor. And then what we'll do is we'll heat shrink the speed controls, we'll heat shrink the motors, or just the speed controls and motor wiring, I should say, down and make it kind of nice and do kind of a good job on things. So let's go shorties, ditch that. Let's keep one Allen key out, so we will need that to fasten some things. We can park the rest. These Emax motors, like I mentioned last live stream, are quite old and quite more or less obsolete nowadays, but they are the ones that I have in this case, and they will work for this budget quadcopter build quite well. They have quite a bit of power, and what I really like about them is the resiliency. They are tough as nails, truthfully. So this should be a left-hand thread nut, and it is. And we need the shorties. We'll leave the longs, and we'll park the rest. This is more or less the fun of quadcopter building. It is never end. Wash, rinse, repeat. 4 times for everything. But then once you're through the motors and the ESCs, it's really easy. There's not much left to it after that. It's a quite simple process to hook up the flight control, program the flight control, at least nowadays anyway. They work just amazing out of the box. So we've got the DYS F4 that we're going to use in this case, and it should do the trick quite nicely. And with these Emaxes you get some spare clips, so you can disassemble the motors. I have not on these yet, but I do have one that I need to. What it needs is new bearings, actually. It had an incident, and I would like to repair it one day, but honestly, it's hardly worth it anymore. Like in this case, I've got these motors. They're brand new. Of course I'm going to use them. But when it comes to going out of my way to repair them, I don't know. Don't know whether I will do such a thing or not. There we go. This should be a right-hand thread. We don't need the prop nuts on right now, but might as well grab them out. And then I put all the spares sort of into one baggie and keep them in my flight bag, in my backpack. Alright, 4 motors, good to go, in theory. Got 2 Allen keys. The cool thing, they give you good high quality Allen keys with each one of these. They work fantastic, actually, no complaints. So one thing I learned last time is to put a couple of the posts for the support of the top of the quad in place for the top speed controls, because you have that backwards, because the front speed controls do butt up against them. So to get the spacing right, it'd be good to just have those in place. That way we can, if I remember right, on my previous builds I dogleg the wires on each side of the ESC, but in this case I'm not sure whether we're gonna. Alright, I'm just gonna grab one thing off camera. There we go. This is my previous build. Well, this is my first 210 build, actually. You guys helped me build this one up on the channel a year and a half ago. I didn't even name this quad, but it's running on an SPF3 flight control. Same driveline, same motors, except... Can you hear this? There's a bad motor there. And there's another one here. Yeah, growly. But Betaflight seems to cope with it just fine, actually, so it's not a huge problem. Anyway, let's go ahead and assemble some stuff. So this motor is going to be the black prop nut. This one is going to be the silver. And let's do some speed controls. Let's get the soldering irons warmed up. We should be in good shape. Methinks. I think what we'll do, let's take one hardware, one of the fasteners for each of these, and let's just put them in place, and let's just temporarily mount one motor, or each motor, in place. That way we can get our wire spacing just right. I throw the motor on the floor, but so be it. There we go. That's the way that one's gonna sit. Find where I threw the other one. And then we'll take them back off. Last live stream, one of the people watching was we were discussing the heat shrink options, and what I've done is just plop each heat shrink right over top afterwards, and he was mentioning go from the inside. And I didn't understand, I didn't follow what he was saying at the time, but I think I got it now, because I think what we can do is try something new this time. It's going to be a little trickier for the double-sided tape part of things, but I think what we can do is solder everything up, take the motor off, put the heat shrink on the arm, and then slide the speed control in. It's just going to be tricky with the double-sided tape that I used to insulate it from the arm. But that should be manageable. Definitely easier the way I did it before, but heck, we're going to try it this way. Okie dokie. Let's go. Cheers, Armando. Awesome. And we'll go ahead and set that on, get our wire length. This is where the only tricky part about these 210s, these front posts go right in between the speed control, so that's why I mounted those, and that way we can get our spacing just right. But truthfully, we can shorten this right up and get it back a little bit and bring it right close to the motor, but I want to leave, it's got this factory heat shrink here that's tough as nails. I want to leave as much as this as possible, so we're going to move the speed control as inbound as we can get it without causing problems, and that actually is twofold. You want as much mass as possible to be in the center of rotation. This goes the same actually in the automobile world too. We call it unsprung weight in the automobile world. You don't want anything outside your suspension. On the quad, the further from the center of axis of rotation, the more problematic it will be. So we will go ahead and we'll say that's going to be about right. We're going to snip those. We did the speed controls last live show. We cleaned them up, tinned them, and did them with nice 60-40 leaded solder, so they should be ready to go. We just need to snip these back, move the speed control, tin these, and this is really nice high quality wire on these Emax motors. Just trying a different setting on my webcam tonight. We're gonna see. I left the autofocus on. Throw a comment in chat if it gets too distracting. the autofocus tends to seek on this C920, and I've had it turned off for some time. The problem with that is you end up with a fixed focal distance, and, well, depending, the aperture is not adjustable, so I can only do, when it's fixed, I will have situations such as macro shots whereby we are out of focus. Alright, that should do nice. So it doesn't matter which order we put these wires on because we can deal with it in Betaflight. We can reverse the motor rotation. How did I get that so far off? What did I just do there? I missed by a mile. That's way too long. Even with the speed control right up against. I don't know what I was thinking. Always better to go too much than too little, because we can't add more easily. What we can do is always take more away, but I really screwed the pooch on that one. We can go significantly shorter than that. We can go down right about where I tinned. Let's try that again. Good sharp side cutters, and you can just strip them back super easy, guys. No problem. You can also use proper strippers. The mechanical style strippers, or, well, you can use an X-Acto knife, or you can use the little crimper style strippers that just have kind of a hole for the different wire gauges. I've been doing this so long, stripping wire for so many years, that I just tend to, you get a feel for using a pair of side cutters, and you can just nip in and pull it off. The trick is to make sure that you're not cutting any strands, and that just comes with feel. But initially, if you try it, you might end up taking strands of the conductors, which is quite undesirable. Alright, that should be a lot better. What we'll do is we'll tack these on one by one. Actually, we're not going to tack them, we're going to permanently solder them correctly. Let's see, I think, not sure how that's working out. Cork is here. Hi from Sweden. Hello to Sweden. Must be fairly late in Sweden. What are you, 6 hours ahead of me in Eastern time, I would think? Denmark is 6 hours. I would imagine you're probably close to DK time. Alright, so since I've pre-tinned these ESCs so heavily, there's lots and lots of solder on there. So we should have no problem just setting these in, heating them up, providing none of this plastic from the heat shrink gets in the way. Remember, these will be flowing into the high 20s of amps, so we want to make sure we get a very good joint. That is quite distracting, that focus, isn't it? I think I'll knock that down. Let's try something in that neighborhood with a fixed focus. Let's try that. Just noticed that would be unwatchable for me. Oogie doogie. Let's tack this one down. Perfect. You want to see a nice, good, shiny pool of solder, not raised up in a little peak or anything, and definitely not chalky looking. If it's chalky looking, it's cold. Just let the iron melt. Remember, this is it's a big joint. There's a significant solder pad under there. Perfect. Let's go to the microscope, see how we did. Good, good, good. Not too shabby, eh guys? That'll do. I think those will flow the amperage. Not my best work, but definitely not my worst. Alright. Wash, rinse, repeat. 243. Yeah. That works out to the 6 hours. Gothenburg time. I spend a significant amount of time in DK each year. And I just actually got back from DK. What was it? 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago. It was in Aarhus. I didn't passed over Sweden. I didn't actually get to any other countries other than I went through Amsterdam Schiphol Airport as usual, which is not a bad deal. It's not such a horrible airport, except if you're like me and had to run across it this time again, that was unpleasant. It's too big of an airport. Are we on camera? We're on camera. Alright, well, seeing as how we went a little long on this ESC, we'll go a little long on this one too. Because we want them to be, I don't know, half symmetrical. I always want your quad build to look like, I don't know, at least me, I always want it to look as good as it can. It may not be perfect, but I always want it to look, I don't know, a little presentable. Not like anybody's going to be critiquing my assembly on this, and truthfully, once you've got them out for a couple of months, you start to care a little less about them. They don't turn into a beater. I like my quads. I'm pretty gentle with them, but they do get the tar kicked out of them. They really do. They are tough though. If you do a good job building them, like, it's not just looks either. If you do a good job on the solder joints and stuff, well, it makes it easy to service later and makes it far less likely that you're going to have connection failures. I've seen far too many YouTube videos of guys having connection failures and stuff, and just makes you wonder. It's like, come on, you can do like a little better job on the assembly and you wouldn't have that problem, because they really do get vibrated and beat to heck. It's a hostile environment that we put these things through. Alright, there we go. That one's ready. This soldering behind the camera thing is kind of for the birds, but youch, especially when you run your soldering iron across your index finger like I just did. Youchy. Something like so. The wire is trying to pull upwards on me already, so I'm trying to sort of make it stick, and then what we'll do is we'll train these two wires downwards slightly so they'll sit on the pad a little nicer. And that worked beautifully. Get that guy out of the way. Use our finger to hold that down. Tin our tip off camera. I always just leave my roll of solder kind of with about a 3 or 4 inch extension, and then I just tin my tip and then give it a little clean, tin it again, and away you go. There's nothing to it. Building quads is actually quite easy. As with most electronics, it's not like dealing with surface mount stuff. It's just on the way you hold your tongue. It's a lot harder over behind a camera though, but it's fun. It makes it interesting to share with you guys. Now that one. Alright, that's better. It didn't want to sit. But yeah, that'll do. Look at that. Nice. Alright. So that will do nicely. We're as inboard as we can be. We're right up against the post here, which is absolutely fine. And then we just do the back ones now. We'll do them all, and then we'll just heat shrink them all and be done with it all at once. Let's do that. We'll put one piece of hardware into each, and we'll rock on. Cool. Anybody building anything interesting this evening? I haven't caught up with you guys live a whole lot lately, and I apologize for that, but this spring was a little crazy, and like I mentioned, I was in Europe for a bit. I'll be away again in a few weeks, but only for a short time. 1 week business trips is usually my longest. Usually. So I like to try and keep them to these days, and I've been successful so far. It lets me focus on. It keeps me focused on the normal daytime career, as well as allows me to focus a little bit on the YouTube side of things without getting. It's hard to pick back up after you've been on the road even if it's only a few days. It's projects, like my projects are horrible. All my projects get stalled for so long. As you guys know, I have so many on the go. It's partly just my fault, but partly when you get pulled off it, it's hard to pick it back up. It's hard to get excited about it again when you've had to spend time on the road or move on to other things. All right, look at that. Yeah, we got a quad. This frame is going to look kind of neat. Yeah, so this is the custom paint job I did, and this quad is going to be named the Blue Falcon quad in honor of JC and all his work that he's done to help us all out and learn things and learn together and build cool quadcopters. And if you haven't seen JC's videos, if you're a quad builder, you just on YouTube search for Project Blue Falcon and you will find JC's channel. He passed away a little over a year ago, I think, in a motorcycle accident, unfortunately, but his videos live on. The other day I was setting up my QX7 Tyrannus, and of course, despite how long he's been gone, the content is still exceedingly relevant, and he has a huge playlist on the Tyrannus QX7 on his channel, and I got everything I needed to know in one-stop shop. And it was nice to hear his voice again. He's just a kind soul. Did so much for the hobby, because that's the key with building these quads or any electronics that we do. All of us makers, the way we learn is together, and sharing projects is an iterative process. We all learn from each other. And without that, it makes it much more difficult. So, yeah, this is kind of one of the reasons I share on YouTube. Alright, look at that. That motor will sit something like so. These back ESCs I'm going to keep just slightly further out, but not much. We're only talking millimeters. And, okay. Tin tips. Solder away. Perhaps one more after this and we are done. This thing, well, it could be flight worthy this evening if we really powered through, but once these ESCs are soldered up, the rest of the process is so much faster. The flight control takes no time at all now, especially with the new beta flight, which I may try on this quad. I'm running Butterflight on my most recent quad build because I'm running an older AKK video transmitter that requires a custom firmware hack for the smart audio to work. But this one will be running the newest 1.2 watt AKK video transmitter. So I don't have that firmware problem. That is not a good joint. There's that being gobby. There. That'll do. That'll do. Look at that. One more down. And then, well, obviously, like I mentioned before, we will reverse the ESCs in the firmware that we need to. We will have to probably reverse 2 of them, depending on how these motors were wired. If I remember right, the last builds were 2 of them, but it all depends on where the wires are coming out of this motor. You can also wire them properly and reverse them electrically, but it's so much easier to just do it and be all heli in the firmware. I like that. It makes it easy, because then we can have a clean build with these wires sitting flat. I really enjoy being able to do that. And in a second, when we heat shrink these down, we will see why we want them to be as clean as possible. Because when we heat shrink it, this thing is going to be nice and flat, kind of handsome looking, perhaps. Mayhaps, but we will see. You guys are quite a bunch out there today. I guess with the weather being nice, especially in the northern hemisphere now, I normally don't live stream much in the summer, because as a rule, people are not in front of their computers so much. nor am I. But today was a little rainy and dreary, so I thought I'll give myself a little motivation by finishing up some build. I'm just twisting the conductors here. These are really, really fine, high quality strands on these motors, and they get astray very quickly. So you just take your fingers and give them a little twist before you tin them, and then you end up with a nice clean joint and don't end up with strands all over the place. Hot iron is required for this too. And clean. Picking up a little bit of goobers. That's what happened on that last joint when I finished off. There was a little bit of contaminants on the tip. I think I got some plastic from the ESC heat shrink. And that's why it was being a little tiny bit stubborn. All better now. Got a mailbag coming for you guys Friday. It's on the editing block currently. I have to finish editing that up tomorrow night. That should be good. A lot of new parts came to the shop this week and last. A lot of fun stuff. Hope you guys like the new format of video for the kind of shop updates and stuff. Friday's video seemed to do a little better and seemed to be a little better received. Trying to do a little bit more entertainment quality to the videos and make them a little interesting. I enjoy making them that way, so that's the way I'm going to do them. I like trying to, I don't know, gotta evolve too. And keep the channel relevant, keep the information relevant, keep it interesting. Look at that. We officially have, this is the base of a quad. Blue Falcon is alive. Alright, this will work. This will work good. Just gonna check one thing on my streaming PC here. Good stuff. Oh, come on. Find the window I was supposed to be on. There we go. Okie dokie. Now, what we'll do is I think we'll heat shrink these. We can pull motors off one by one. We can use my hot air rework station. And what we'll do is, like I planned before, all I did was cut this off. So yeah, we're just going to leave them. I was actually thinking about removing this label and coloring these actually with a different color of tape, but I don't think we'll worry about it. I think this will be fine. So what we'll do, because these are wide open, first let's hit them with some MG chemicals. Let's hit all of them. This is the MG Chemicals conformal coating. So we'll just put a little bit on here. That's enough just to seal them up so that if you get a full-on dunk of water across that wide open throttle, they won't short phase to phase. But then we're going to seal them with heat shrink on top. That is stinky stuff. I should be using some fan. All right. Then what we'll do, we'll take some of this heat shrink and we can do the whole ESC if we wanted, and that will offer more weight as well as more protection to the top of the ESC. And then we're going to be heat shrinking it again. So what I'm thinking, I don't know. You know what? Let's just do the majority of it. That way it'll have more sticking force. Actually, it doesn't matter because we're going to be heat shrinking over the top anyway. Let's do 4 pieces this long. This cool thing about quads is there's really no rules. You can build it however you want. There's the electrical side of it and the control side of it, but when it comes to the finishing, fit and finish, sealing and that kind of thing. You can do whatever you want. This is heat shrink from DigiKey, but you can buy the same on eBay if you're willing to wait a little while longer. In this case, I was in a bit of a rush when I got this, so it was a quick, kind of fast, panicky order. All right. Excellent. With any luck, I picked the right size. If I remember right, this one fits over the ESC. We should be able to slide it over here and slide it up and shrink it down. Same with the others, if I remember right. And apparently I didn't, because this, look at that, there's an inductor on the backside. This is significantly too small. It would fit over if, perhaps, if I didn't have the existing heat shrink already on it. So, you know what? You know what I might just do? I might just hit the... Yes, this is what I'm going to do. We're not going to put another layer on there. I'm just going to hit this with another coat of MG Chemicals. And then we'll just use the main heat shrink down to the arm that I originally planned. Because there's no need. We're already putting a layer on, and this will seal this. Plus, it will make it easier to field service if we need to change a motor, or an ESC for that matter. And this will still seal it up quite well. If I had a fluorescent or a UV source of light, i.e. the sun, you take this out in the sunshine and this will glow. Where the MG Chemicals is will be blue in color so that you can tell where you've coated. Jeez, I'm knocking the whole place over. Alright, somewhere here I've got a massive big chunkosaurus of big heat shrink. Oh, that's the stuff. I do believe that's the stuff I used before. Okay, let's see. What do we want to do? We want to run up pretty close to the motor, and it's going to shrink a little bit. So let's say we're going to go to there. Try and get it. Actually, square doesn't matter because when it shrinks, it's going to bow on both sides. So we're going to hunker it closer to the motor side. And this will hold these to the arm just beautifully. So let's cut 4 of these. And that will cover our motor connections just fine too. And save us the headache of doing more unnecessary ones. This will hopefully get transparent like it did before on heating and look kind of good. Quite happy with the way Red October turned out when I did this. Okie dokie. Let's see. We'll do one by one and keep, it's going to take a lot of heat to shrink this down, so we'll do one by one, keep the others away. Slide that on the arm, slide that up. Oh yeah, that'll do. That'll do. Go ahead, just temporarily set the motor down. Or actually not temporarily, let's get that with 2 screws, 2 fasteners right where it needs to be. And then we'll pull them back out and Loctite them afterwards. This is the mistake I made on the last builds, was doing all these first. I think somebody commented in the chat to fasten them all on first. Well, there's no need for that, and actually if you Loctite them down like I did in the first place, then you're far less likely to want to take it apart for any reason. Yeah, that'll do. So we'll set that like so. We could have actually even cut it at the exact angle if we wanted to and made it look real cool, but this is gonna shrink down like a fiend. Okay, so we're gonna take the hot air rework station, it's already on, and take it off the cradle. We're set to 400 degrees. That's 400 Celsius, very, very hot. How many do I have? Quite a few. Quite a few. So, yeah, we're wide open. We're up to 380 degrees, and that should be right where we want to be. And then we'll just shrink this down. And she will be permanently affixed to this arm. And look. Oh, crap. We forgot a step. This is no bueno. We don't want to heat shrink that on yet. We missed a very important step. Ditch that, try that again. What did we miss? Post it in the chat. You tell me what did we miss, guys? We missed something important. Or what I would consider exceedingly important. Alright. Let's pop that back off again. Because right the way that is, it would work. And it might be fine for a very long time. But I'm guessing it wouldn't be fine as long as it could be otherwise. Anybody figured it out? Nope. That's okay. We missed putting some vibration dampening under this motor, or under the CSC. Should put, I use double-sided tape. You can use whatever you have. Rubber, folded up electrical tape, whatever you've got, to offer a little bit of insulation between the power electronics and the hard carbon fiber. These motors throw a lot of vibration, and these things crash and get banged around pretty good. And without some form of vibration isolation on there, it's pretty rough on things. I don't know how fast it would accelerate the failure, but I would rather not find out. This will work mucho better. I'm looking forward to getting this one out. Actually, I've got to do 3D printed camera mount stuff for it, and then I will have 3 daily flyer quads. I will have the Red October, this one, Blue Falcon, and the X215 Pro. And spare parts for each, like this one I showed at the beginning of the broadcast. This is an identical driveline to this one, except that's a PLA camera mount, which breaks all the time, and I've glued all the time. I couldn't do flexible filament back when I printed that, but otherwise essentially the same running gear. Okay, now with any luck, we should be able to peel that backing off of our double-sided tape under here. The motor's in position with 2 fasteners. They're just machine screws. I don't remember what the thread on them is. Come on, get off of there. Stab myself with my X-Acto knife. That's nice. Set the speed control down. Give it a little shove. Sweet. That's more gooder. And then, now we can go back. And with any luck, we can heat shrink this down. On camera, Eric, on camera. Up to 400 degrees on the air coming out. You don't have to use a hot air rework for stuff like this, but it sure makes it easier. Look at how well that shrinks down. It's gone nice and clear. I think the ratio of this stuff is like 60% or something. It's got pretty serious shrinkage. On the back side, I just hit that. Something satisfying about heat shrink. I don't know why. And with the rework station, you don't end up harming paint and stuff or any power electronics or anything, you can really control the tip significantly better. And then we'll hit it in here real good, and that'll be tight as a piano wire, more or less, or tight as a guitar string. I guess that would be a better analogy. There. Once that cools, it'll be nice and hard, fasten down, waterproof, relatively water resistant, so to speak. We're good to go. One down. Wash, rinse, repeat. Nothing to it. Oh, it's a little warm in the basement tonight. I need a drink. Haven't had homebrew on the channel in a while. I should do some homebrew one of these days. Could do a homebrew electronics build. I have the boards are in from the offshore board manufacturer, and I'd like it's JLC PCB like everyone else these days. Would like to actually put together that project one of these days as well. Maybe. That one I want to actually have to do a video on, because like everyone else, JLC PCB did sponsor it. So I won't just do a live stream on that. I think it'll get its own sort of standalone video sort of deal. It should be fun. It should be a lot of fun. I haven't done any SMD surface mount boards in my rework station yet, other than my own messing around, so I'm looking forward to playing around with it a little bit. Okie dokie. Things go a little faster once you get in a rhythm here. Looking forward. Maybe I can get this thing up in the air by the weekend. That would be nice. It'd be fun to maiden it. I'm on vacation soon too. Maybe I can take it with me. Have a little. Oh, what? This is what happens. I get ahead of myself. Now you need a computer-controlled flight, so they can fly them all at once just to scare the neighbors. Yeah, these are definitely not the devices for that. These are nutty. These little race quads are a riot, but they are a handful, to say the least. A lot of power. I'll keep it under my own control, although I know some smart AI would be better than me, but one in the air is enough. Plus it would be so crazy loud, it would be ridiculous. These things, especially with my aggressive props, I have a couple different styles of props I'm running, and the really aggressive ones they're just ludicrous loud. They are, well, you're not going to fly at a park quiet, put it that way. They scream. At wide open throttle, everybody within a kilometer knows something weird is in the sky, or something weird is going on. Okay, that time we got it. Second time's a charm. Pull the heat shrink off. Actually, we don't even need to take the sticky side off on the back side, to be honest. We could just leave it right the way it is. I almost wonder whether that would be better than what I did. Nah, let's just take it off. And that's one more thing, holding the speed control from shifting around. But you could actually just leave that off. And you just, like I mentioned earlier, you could just use some bundled up electrical tape or whatever. Anything for some, just a little vibration isolation. Perfect. Hit it. Full speed. This heat shrink was also from DigiKey, but I did order some more stuff slow boat from China, because this was again, like the other stuff, it was crazy expensive. I have plenty enough, but you never know what you're going to use it for. This is really handy, not just for quad frames, like it's kind of a silly use for it, but it's good for like doing large cable bundles and stuff. It's handy to have some larger stuff. And I really like how it turns almost completely transparent when it shrinks down. Goes from that opaque look to nearly perfectly transparent. It's really nice stuff. Won't get in the way of anything. Actually, this looks like it could be done a little more on the far side. There we go. Perfect. Hit it again here in the corner so it's nice and tight. It does stay pliable too. I guess that's the difference. I've had some cheap stuff that goes brittle once it's shrunk, and that would be no bueno for this job. That's where the good old electrical tape would be just fine. Or hockey tape or whatever. Done and done. Hot. Very freaking hot. And then when I put the hot air rework that I'm using here just works on a Hall effect sensor on the cradle. When you put it on there, it just continues to cool down. In the background, you'll see I put some aluminum tape on the bench because I've burnt the bench more than once. It's a good way to burn your house down. But it'll just run the fan until it cools the nozzle down enough to shut off. It's pretty good. I have them in my Amazon store, link down below. I really love that station. Jeez, it's worked flawlessly for me for quite a few years now. Quite happy with it. Again, it's a no-name brand too. Definitely nothing fancy. Okie dokie. Take that. Stick that on there. It would have been better if the ESCs, the last quad, I mounted them the other way around with the power electronics to the bottom, or the larger MOSFETs, I think. Yeah, the larger ones I mounted the other way around, so I've done them both ways and I've never had a problem. So but they would actually fit flatter if I did it this side down, but it's too late now. This is the way it's gonna be. And yeah, both ways have worked just fine in the past. These are not the best ESCs anymore by far. These are, in fact, probably something that nobody uses anymore. These little beasts, they've worked just fine for me, and we have them, so this is what we're going to use. This is the budget parts are in stock quadcopter. The little bees they're kind of noted for having excessive noise, and I did experience that on one quad. It was nothing I couldn't handle on the quad. With just a little tiny bit of standard noise isolation, and it was completely manageable. All right, go ahead, get the sticky off without cutting my hand. Stick that ESC down, and before the hot air rework has even finished, we're ready to go again. Sweet. I think a lot of my viewers are from the Northern Hemisphere, so hopefully a lot of you guys are enjoying a little summertime right about now. I know Hill's workbench that was here, he's just across the lake from me, I think. I think you're in Michigan, Hill's workbench. Hopefully the weather's treating you well. It's finally smartening up here. We've had a winter dragged on right into May, including snow, as always. But I think yesterday was very hot and very humid. It was about 34 with the Humidex, 34 Celsius yesterday. It was to the point where we couldn't eat supper outside. We had to move the party inside to the air conditioning. It was very, very toasty. But no complaints here, because the other day, you guys that follow me on Instagram, I posted just a silly picture of a beer on the patio at my local restaurant. And that was the first day we had been there that the patio was open. And I had posted a picture the last day we were there that the patio was open, and that was September 3rd of last year, so over 9 months between patio drinks. I have no idea why I live here. 9 months from patio closed to open. It's a very short season. Ridiculously short. But I don't know, I guess we have a pretty beautiful countryside, and summer's pretty awesome when it's here. Just wish it could be here a bit more. Alright. A little double-sided. A little bit of heat shrink. Another motor. We are going to be pretty much done. It is ready to assemble the flight control after this. The boring part of building quadcopters. It is just more or less the same thing. Repeated 4 times. Come on, don't stick down on me now. Get one of these in. I peeled that backing off too soon. I got pushy. Alright. One fastener is enough for right now. The other wire's out of the way. Yeah, this is the problem I ran into before when I didn't have those posts in place. I got them too far up. But no problem this time. Perfect. As far as I can possibly get it inboard, removes all the weight from the arms as much as possible, moves it to the center of mass without going to like a 4-in-1 ESC. And we're good. Sweden has had the hottest May since 1889. Yeah, I totally believe that. Around 30 plus every day. I saw a couple of pictures. There's a couple of outdoorsy YouTubers I follow. I just watched one of the videos yesterday. I don't remember the channel name. And he was out, and it was well over 30, and he had recorded it multiple weeks ago. I thought, no, that's good. Hopefully it's not too bad of a sign of the times, but we all know things are indeed changing. Don't mind getting a nice summer day in the springtime out of the deal. It's pretty crazy. Hottest since 1889. That's crazy. Ours is, we've been close. We've been nearly records every day for a month, going back approximately 100 years. A lot of them we were within a degree or two most days lately. There was a couple of days where we broke them, but it's just overall hotter, and also overall colder and drier at times when normally it was colder and wetter, and now we're hot and dry. We haven't had rain in over a month. We had rain today, a few millimeters, but it's been a month and there's no sign of it letting up, so the pastures are really suffering. It's quite bad. And then the wildfires take over west of me, which is common for pretty much all of the prairies and Rockies of Canada will be under. There'll be just non-stop wildfires for the rest of the year, which is unfortunate. But such is the way it goes. Until we decide to get off our butts and do something about it. I work in alternative energy, so I'm obviously biased. But biased in all the right ways. Look at that. Golden! Look at that. Oh. So I think that looks a little classy. What do you guys think? Our heat shrink is almost unnoticeable on the bottom of this, holding things down quite nicely. We plop our flight control in the middle, trim all these wires, and solder them on, which I think I'm going to take a break for tonight, as you guys have been watching me assemble this long enough for tonight, I think. And then I'll go ahead and I'll put all the fasteners into the motors and use a little bit of Loctite, blue Loctite, don't use red. And we will have the basis of a functional quad. We'll add our video gear, we'll add a camera up front, video transmitter, FR Sky XSR receiver, which I already have laid out, and that's it. This thing will be ready to fly. Awesome stuff. The HS job. Cheers, John. Looks perfect. Thanks, Quark. All right. Well, we're away to the races. It'll be in good shape, and then this top piece will be on top, and our battery will sit on top. Other way around. And we'll be good. Actually, I'm going to see if I can go with lower standoffs this time and do this a slightly lower profile. I've never done that because I've never gotten the different length of standoffs. This kit came with them, so maybe we can make it even lower profile than my existing ones. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. Hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. I know I enjoy making things, and I feel a lot better. I walked in, we had a bucket of parts and nothing. And right now, technically, this is, well, if we soldered the flight control on and stuck the receiver on, this would be flyable inside of 15-20 minutes. So, but we'll take our time and do a nice job on the wiring. That's where it really, a little bit of forethought goes a long way into leaving the right amount of wires so that we can change the flight control later, like I had to do on Red October. You want, like, it's never gonna, like this one, again, this is not my best work. This is one of my first ones, but a little bit of forethought can make it as clean as possible. Again, these are not consumer edition. They're not all closed in. It is custom built, so light and fast. All right, guys, that's it for me tonight. Have a good night. Cheers.